Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2, 1. Now, if you're ready, we will begin. Go. Welcome to the Marla and Dave radio show. This is reality radio with a couple that keeps it real. Current events, pop culture, music, relationships, fitness, the hot topics of the day. Marla and Dave Thomas. This is the Marla and Dave radio show. Real radio. Turn up!
Wow, welcome to the Marla and Dave show. I'm just going to jump out immediately and ask for forgiveness today. My energy is normally, very big in here. My energy is something that God gave me, so I'm not ever without it. But I can say that I have finally reached the wall of core exhaustion with what we've been going through. So today, I am relieved that our show is featuring our guest, Dena from Nami, which is the National Association. Dena Robinson from the National Association of Mental Illness, because I posted on my Facebook, my heart is heavy, but my head is full of questions. And I just, and I'm sure that may be the case for all of you. So, Dave?
I say welcome as well, and I too apologize because I've had 2 hours of sleep in the last 48 hours, and, 30 hours or 36 or whatever. And I've had one meal. So I'm...
You're hungry and you're numb.
As we were getting ready to come to the show today, we had a little small breakthrough with our son's issue. We found him, and I was able to actually go to him, communicate with him, with my mother-in-law, who had a plan for sort of making sure that he was at least okay. I was dealing with that, and it came straight to the studio from there. But our guest here is, we're so glad to have her.
I'm happy to be here.
Dena Robinson. She is the director of volunteer recruitment and training for Nami. At our local chapter, or is that the overall?
Nami San Fernando Valley.
Nami San Fernando Valley, yes. And she's going to share with us not only her wealth of experience, but also her wealth of resources that people like us, people in our situation, can tap into. Because without some of these sort of what we call angels in our lives, you're kind of on your own. And we found it extremely frustrating and extremely difficult to try to navigate the mental health system, because the mental health system is always closely tied with the police and law enforcement agencies. And so it's a combination, and we found that it's almost, your option is really almost to either have someone who is either a criminalized by the system because they're mentally ill, or grave danger to themselves, almost dead. And it just seems like that shouldn't be that way. So we're going to talk to Dena about that today.
So again, today, remember that we're going to be dealing with the challenges that are presented and exist in a broken system of mental health. Tony, I guess we should go ahead and let me start as well by making sure everybody has our phone number. This is a great opportunity for you to get your questions answered, or to just be able to get resources that will help the people in your lives. Here's what's interesting: 1 in 4 people are affected with some type of imbalance of some kind, whether it be personality disorder or mental illness. And so that just means that we all need to listen up, because it may not be you, but it's somebody who's close to you or somebody that you're interacting with. It's a loved one for most of us. So I'm about erasing the stigma today by speaking openly. I can only be as transparent as I can be and share my story in its truth, and share my journey. And everybody knows, if you're on this show and you know who we are, that is what we do. Tony, I'm going to go ahead and ask for my mood song.
I never knew such pain, and you leave me so confused. Now I'm all crying over you.
Yeah, I never thought before that I could actually run out of tears. Matter of fact, today, when that phone call came, And I'll tell you about that when we get started, the details of locating DJ today in detail. I mean, in specific. It was like all of a sudden my air in my lungs just filled up, and before I knew it, I was crying again. But I was dry. I felt like I just, I've been numb. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, Tony, hit me with my mood song.
I can't cry anymore. Break away. Just when it seems so clear that it's over now. Drink your big black cow and get out of here.
Take your big black cow and get out of here.
That the essential message is I can't cry anymore. But
wow,
yeah, that's
the big black cow and get out of here.
Anybody who knows me knows that all the
Steely
members
Dan.
of Take Six are big fans of Steely Dan, and they always have some strange references to things that nobody really knows about. Turns out a big black cow is a drink. So just
Take
anyway.
your big black cow and
Anyway,
get out of here.
and to add to what you were saying, Marla, literally when I was talking to Dee, I was trying to let Mimi, your parental instincts almost want to kick in and kind of take over and say, son. But Mimi, as the mental health professional, really knows how to speak to someone in that condition much better than I do. So she was basically telling me to just hold up. Let him get a place to actually get some rest, because sleep is one of the most important things.
Absolutely.
As he gets his rest, then we can talk a little bit more. So that was very rough. And to have to actually give him his essentials and then just kind of drive away with him just walking down the street was too much for me. Marla was on the phone call with another resource lady that was being very helpful to us. I couldn't even speak. They were asking me questions. I couldn't even talk. So.
Well, definitely that's the case. It's been a long journey. It's been a long journey, and it's come to a critical. It's been critical. It's come to a head in the last since the 26th, but it's been in deterioration mode to a critical degree for 8 months. So there's a lot. We're just getting to the point where it was time for us to expose our reality. Again, 323-524-2599.
Our guest is Dena Robinson.
Dena Robinson from Nami, and Dave reached out to Nami, and as a matter of fact, Nami was the last contact resource we had the day that DJ actually was arrested.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about what this all means, what help that we can get, what we need to do to raise awareness. There's a lot that we need to discuss. I feel like this show could go on for 5 hours, but Tony Sweet is cruel. He just gave us an hour and a half. So mean, sweetie. So mean. He's going to shut it down, guys. He's going to unplug us. I'm just letting you know. So we got to get it all out while it's time.
You know, usually our show really starts off fun and happy and joking. We're just not in that mood today, and we haven't been playing any tennis. We haven't been doing anything really fun. We've just been dealing with this.
And let me just say, by the way, to everybody on all of our platforms, the chat room is full. And on Facebook, we also have Periscope, UBN Radio TV. We also have UBN Twitter. AD
How's
is in the room.
UBN chat room right now? It's up, so I should check that out.
AD is with us as well, and Moniece will be joining us at some point, and they're live streaming, so you can find this on all their social medias. It's serious for us, and it's important. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network. Current events, pop culture, the hot topics of the day. It's time for MaD News on the Marla and Dave radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
Okay, it seems like an apology is going to be the normal running thing for the normal segments that we do today. But, you know, this weekend, usually the weekend usually has like a lull in the news. But with Donald Trump as our president, things just don't seem to lull ever. So
maybe he should join the Lakers. It looks like he had a pretty good jump shot with the paper towels. I'm just thinking.
See?
I mean, the Lakers could use some help.
The jump shot with the paper towels. The president went down to Puerto Rico. And actually, this weekend, I just tuned into some of the news shows, and I just happened to hear the director of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. His name is Brock Long. He's the administrator, and he just in a quick dismissive statement said, "We have long since tuned out the mayor of San Juan and her political rhetoric." Now, the mayor is constantly saying that no matter what it looks like on TV, and how the Donald Trump and the government and the agencies are basically saying we're doing a good job, she's saying we don't have any water. We don't have, the power has gone out at the hospitals. And basically, I understand the rock and a hard place, but I don't understand the lack of empathy and sympathy for somebody in her position. And so instead of actually demonstrating that sympathy, they seem to kind of just gone around her. Anyway,
our show today is on mental illness.
The mayor's name is Carmen Cruz, and she said in one of her texts, her tweet says, "Increasingly painful to understand how the American people want to help and the U.S. government does not want to help.
We
All
need
caps,
water.
We need water."
That's just...
It's just too much.
You know what? Can I just say this? Thank you, 45, for allowing me to laugh in one of the darkest moments in my life. You're still funny. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. And the next story, also on one of the news shows, I guess it was the morning, one of the morning shows today, Ivana Trump comes back into the news because she has a new book coming out, and I'm going to see what that book is
I'm
called.
looking at it too.
Raising Trump, that's right. And in her interview, she says...
You mean raising like child or like flag?
She starts to say that she's the original, she's the first Mrs. Trump. And by the time she was done, it came out, she's the first lady. She's the first lady.
And guess what? That would be one title that I would not want to claim if I was his ex. No, not even kidding. I'd be so far gone, I'd be like, huh? I might even hyphenate my name or erase it.
And this is a running sort of topic, it seems like, with women. Basically, what she was basically saying, which is the large portion of her book, and she takes full credit for raising the kids. She said her husband, Donald Trump, at the time, she's the mother of the older 3 kids, was never there. And she was in full control. She told him what schools they were going to. She fully raised the kids. He was doing his business thing and would come home, and he loved the kids, no doubt, but he just wasn't there because he was working. So that seemed interesting to me as well.
And this, Dave, I feel like this next story, Dena, that Dave put this in here because I think that he might be trying to always send me some type of sexual subliminal message because this British model has turned a piece of her labia into designer jewelry.
Yes, the funny
Pipe
thing
down.
the funny thing about it is her actual name is Tracy Kiss.
Easy, bruh.
Her name is Tracy Kiss, and she is Kiss, and that's a real name. She's a mother, and she actually makes her money by selling nude photos of herself, nude and racy photos of herself online for she's British, so £10 at a time, and per shot. And
Wow.
She had the thing that caught my eye is that she had a labiaplasty, and I didn't even know that labiaplasty was a thing.
Because you don't have a vagina, it's mine.
I didn't know that was a thing until one time I was at the doctor with Marla, and I heard that thrown around. I was like, what? Who does that?
What thrown around? Labia?
No, you remember?
Oh, vaginal rejuvenation.
Yeah, vaginal rejuvenation. Yeah.
Now they do all kinds of things like sit over steam and... Then,
so according to the article that I found, she had to get vaginal rejuvenation, a labiaplasty specifically, because she had too much friction down there. So,
too much friction? What is that?
She had developed a cyst because of too much friction.
Okay.
And so what she did was...
Is that even possible?
I'm just
used to say you were an expert.
I'm just reporting the facts.
So you're not a gynecologist anymore?
I'm relating the facts. Clearly I'm not. Clearly, this shows I have so much to learn. Anyway, right quick. The pieces of her labia that were clipped away in her labiaplasty, she made a necklace from.
Okay, I'm done.
She made a necklace from the pieces
Here's a
of her
picture.
labia. So, I mean, that's interesting, I thought that was interesting at least. Anyway, that's the MaD news for this week. We're going to get back to the show.
This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
You live and you learn. The funnier thing about it is, it's amazing. I've been holding out for Chopard jewelry, and I could have just snapped a piece of my labia and hung it around my neck. I got that for free. It's whatever. Anyway, let's get to the issue of why we're here, and let's get to let's walk into this, if you guys don't mind, backwards. Today.
Marla, do you mind if I start by reminding you guys? I really want you guys to call in today. We want you guys to call in today because while we have Dena here with us, any questions that you have, you need to call in and ask. Any comments that you have, you can call and ask her. She's the one with the information. Again, the number is 323-524-2599. Marla, go ahead.
Yeah, just what the brief snippet as to what brought us here. And then I'd like to open the floor for you to tell everybody, let's first understand what Nami is.
Okay, absolutely.
So because we've been struggling in our family so long with mental health issues that have become acute within this past year, we've known of Nami, but we had become desperate for answers and resources to help us help our son, who at one point in his life was addicted to drugs, put himself in rehab at 21, went through an 18-month residential program, graduated, went to college for 2 years, and then got in college on the beginning of his junior year of college and did well, met a girl, and sidetracked and derailed. And I guess Dave had been hearing and hearing things all along that represented somewhat of a break in his reality. Okay. I was unaware of that until I spoke to him on a Friday, and then on that very Sunday, it was so disjointed, and I know you have everybody in Huntsville watching me, and I was like, D, what? And I was so panicked when I realized he wasn't kidding that I pulled over to the side of the road, and I have things that I've always said to my kids, like, how's your today? Because they're grown, and at that point, I just want to know, how's today for you? When they were younger, little things that I would say. So I called him up and said, how's your today? And when he said that, it was literally like my heart started pounding because I realized how far from reality that was. And I started with trying to reason with him. I said, that's like me pulling out of the house at where we live right now, and a police pulls up behind me, and you're in Huntsville, and I know you have every cop in all of Los Angeles on my tail, but that's so far-fetched. Sure. So I called my husband, who was on the road, which is usually the case, and I said, I need you, this is what happened, I need to get my son home right now. So it happened to be the winter break. We brought him home, and my mom immediately went to work to connect and link him to the best psychiatric care that we could find, even in the way of evaluation. Okay. So we were connected with people who teach psychiatry to connect us with psychiatrists. So anyway, that turned up a diagnosis of, at the time, bipolar mania.
It started with schizophrenia.
It started with schizophrenia, but then we
didn't have a good rapport with the doctor. So
that wasn't the doctor for us.
It wasn't the doctor for us.
So which is, again, was important to find somebody.
Absolutely.
And we'll stick a pin in that and come back to that when we talk to you. Absolutely. But go ahead, Marla.
So anyway, he in order to do what had to be done, and our relationship in our family is very close, he trusted us. And in trusting us, he agreed to go on medication. Good. So he got on medication, which was a mood stabilizer and an antipsychotic. For 2.5 years, he came to us every day. He allowed us to be in his appointments and would ask for the medication. At the end of last fall, I'm a big tennis player, and Brandy was coming over to our house on a regular basis to our home to play tennis. And we all connected. David and I have always been for 15 years, but as friends. But you could quickly see that there was something off to the right. That they were both. It's almost like a dog whistle communication. Okay. That's off between both. Nobody's sleeping. Up for days. Blah blah blah. So bottom line is, we began to hear, and she started to discuss with us, him coming off of his meds. He doesn't like the medication. He doesn't like the way it makes him feel. He doesn't need those meds, blah, blah, blah. And then subsequent conversations. And over a matter of months, what ended up transpiring in February was he was spitting his medication out into the hydro flask that we were giving him the water in every night. And we didn't know it because it's opaque. So it's like a thermos. So you can't see through that bottle. So when we would go to give him the meds and he would go drink the water, he was actually spitting the medication into the bottom of the flask. We never saw it. Wow. So we're under the impression he's still on his meds. But 2 weeks into that, I said, something's not right, because his behavior was changing. And a month after that, it was clear, but we still didn't know what. And then 6 weeks after that, we had the physical altercation where we got into the situation with David and myself, and it was he came home, completely delusional and also at that point aggravated and aggressive. So because he and Dave, when he was on drugs, had an issue before physical, Dave's vow to himself was, and out loud to DJ, I'm never going to put my hands on you again. So when he started coming at me verbally, Dave went to restrain, because we don't know where that's going to go. And then the rest of it was history. So that ended up with Dave being physically kicked into the wall, me holding him and him hitting me in the face, just brazing it, because I had him I was holding him. So when he turned to punch me, he punched me with what would be all of his might. He just didn't have extension because I didn't let him go. So he left, police were called, blah, blah, blah. So this critical thing has been going on. But in that process, we were unable to ever get him back onto his meds. So right now, he's 8 months not medicated because he doesn't feel he needs medication. So enter last week, Tuesday, when Dave actually went to Nami, and we were trying to solicit what we needed to do, what would be the procedure to get a pet team.
Well, I think sort of before you get there, part of the issue was that let's demonstrate DJ coming home from college, like Marla said, and had descended into this state where he wouldn't even talk, because everything was listening. A camera. The TV was actually looking at him. Everything was something that was viewing him. So he would write on an Etch-a-Sketch what he wanted to say. And so finally, we convinced him to take medication. And for how many years he was good with the medication?
2.5.
About 2.5 years, constantly going to therapy and talking things out.
He was fully compliant
and
to
actually
to his
starting
system.
to do a lot better. Then coming off the medication to just completely, matter of fact, a worse state after coming off the medication than before when he went on. And then jumping back to us trying to follow and work within the confines of the known system, at least known to us, which is call the authorities. They then call the mental health professionals. You get on a 5150 or a 72-hour hold, for those of you who don't know. And they start the medication and things start to calm down. Then you can reason and then you can move on from there. It just didn't work for us. To the extent of we had called the police maybe 3 or 4 times.
This was the third time. The third time was the time that they picked him up.
Yeah, but the 2 times that they came out before, not only did it not work, but the police informed him,
empowered him,
that even though you don't pay rent to live at your parents' home,
if you've been here longer than 30 days, you're a resident, and
they can't kick you out.
Right.
They can't even kick you out.
You'll have to get a restraining order and then file a formal eviction, which will take months.
Then the second time the police come out, they not only reinforce that, but then they say, "Oh, he's on disabilities. Well, you can't kick him out. Period. There's no steps you can take.
If
that
you're
would
on
allow
SSI,
you
like
to
he's
kick somebody
disabled.
out that's on SSI, which that person that receives disabilities from the state. You can't make that person homeless for any reason. Unless, of course, they're violent and your life is threatened, or they're a danger to themselves, that type of thing. And then the system is supposed to actually take them in. So then jump back to where Marla was. The police come and pick him up, and it was almost like God was allowing certain things to take place, because not only was he violent and aggressive, he was nude. We had come in from doing something that evening.
We had gone to the movies to see The Kingsman, to be exact.
He was nude on the couch, saying that he was had just gotten engaged to Rihanna,
which is when he was angry with Dave and ready to fight, because Dave was bullying him in his mind and was not congratulating him for being engaged. And at that point, I walked out of the house, because it was that day Dave had been at Nami, and someone at Nami had given him a contact for the emergency, because I
PMRT,
guess
the pet team.
The pet team, your requirements from Nami, the National Association of Mental Illness, are different. They're not criminal. They're based in psychiatric help, meaning that it's not about, which I think that was what was described to Dave. That, in other words, DJ, according to his behavior, already fit the criteria of
for
somebody for the pet team. But for the police, it had to be criminal.
And the police are, I mean, the recovery team, the psychiatric recovery team, what we were told is that they're psychiatric professionals. So they evaluate on a different level than just the police, who ask 3 questions. Maybe 3 to 5 questions. So anyway, he was put on a 72-hour hold, and which turned into, long story short, because you want to actually get to a conversation with you. Sure. Long story short, turned into a 14-day hold, which then in 7 days he was back out. Right. So, which is up until now, which is what has been the case. He's been picked up by the police since then, since he came out.
Twice.
Within a week.
3
twice.
times.
2 or 3 times. So he's been to jail maybe 2 or 3 times, and the rest of the time he's just been out on the street. So here we are. Marla?
Tell us about Nami.
So Nami is the nation's largest grassroots organization that educates, supports, advocates for people affected by mental illness, both family members and the person who has the lived experience. We have an affiliate in Nami, San Fernando Valley. You had mentioned that you had gone into a Nami. Can you? Tell me
I meant to actually use it as a segue. Okay. Forgive me, I'm just out of it. So when I went, we were so desperate to get some help for D, because it just wasn't working. I had looked up Nami that morning, and I was like, man, so you know what? First of all, this is a great organization, because the amount of resources that I saw were almost hard for me to even be able to. I couldn't exhaust it in a day if I tried. So I was going through. I was like, man, I just need to go down there. Yeah. So before I went down there, I joined Nami with the family membership.
Beautiful. And
then I went straight down there, and of course, as you know, because that's where you work, there was nowhere to park.
Okay, so you went down to
right there, Sherman Way Circle or something like that.
Okay.
And if that's not where it is, that's where the address told me it was.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. Our mailing address is 14545 Sherman Circle.
Yeah. So when I got there seemed like a mental health facility there.
It is.
Like seemed like a public facility.
Yeah, it's the San Fernando Valley Mental Health Clinic, something like that.
And so I was almost discouraged, because when I went in, they were like, first of all, it was like almost, and understandably so, such a secure environment that people were behind thick glass that can only have a sliver of handing through a paper.
Sure. And
I was like, I have no information. I rushed out of the house. They were like, what's your son's social security number? What's his such and such? All the information they were asking me for, I had no idea. Okay. So I called Marla. We couldn't get it. The guy understood. He saw the stress I was in and called me into the back. He's the one who gave me the number to the a specific person at the recovery team, the pet team.
Okay.
And once that happened, I talked to her, and then she actually started really filling me in on some things that I could do to kind of get around sort of the ways that I was doing it. Okay. It just so happened that everything, because every time I called her, she picked up the phone right away. They were, do you need us to come out? Anything that we were asking for. But I didn't understand that she was saying if you call at night, it's a whole different process.
Which when our emergency happened, first of all, I was so, because, let me just say this. When you're dealing with the psychotic side of mental illness, it isn't until all of the predictable behaviors are no longer possible that panic set in. Because all along I've been dealing with, and DJ's nature is very docile until this whole other monstrous thing comes up. Right. And so now I don't know which one of the voices are talking, what they're telling him to do.
Absolutely.
He's walking into my room nude. I don't know if he's telling me to shut the F up and calm the hell down, and he's just trying to get soap. He's not home. And I'm thinking, so if you don't know that enough to my door shut, if you don't know that I'm your mom, like you're not talking to me like you normally would talk to me as a mother.
Basically, boundaries are just crossed.
So at that
shattered.
point, I also became sexually afraid.
Right.
Because I don't know, if you think you've married Rihanna, clearly you haven't. If you think you just wrote a song with Beyonce and Jay-Z, clearly that hasn't happened. Right. So therefore, if those things are real to you, then the reality of what I am to you also probably doesn't exist, and I'm in more jeopardy than I ever thought I could be in my lifetime.
Okay, so if we can,
yes,
just back up just a little bit, because I want to answer the question. I want folks to know where we are.
Awesome.
Okay, when you get ready to go and come and visit.
That's a good point, because it turned out I wasn't in the right place.
Yeah. Well, we are very fortunate because we just got Nami San Fernando Valley office space over in Van Nuys at Hope of the Valley. The address is 6425 Tyrone Avenue. We are based there. Now, with regard to what Nami has to offer for families that are in the same situation that you all have described or something similar.
Yes.
We have a program called Family to Family. It is an evidence-based practice, which means it's been through some rigorous research and some criteria, and nationally it is recognized to improve outcomes for families who are affected, as you all have been affected. So it's a 12-week program, and every single time we hear about people who have graduated from the program nationally, it's always, where was this when I needed it?
Wow.
Where was this before my son did something that was harmful for him, or got in touch with, or had to interact with the police?
Right.
Had to go to the hospital. Where was Nami? So let me tell you, Nami is the best kept secret out there for families and people who are living and suffering in many cases with mental illness. So I would definitely encourage anyone who is in the situation that you all are in to contact us. Our number is 818. I'll say it lots of times before we get off the radio.
There you go. And Tony's going to put it on the screen as well.
All right. 818-994-6747. That is our helpline.
And that's local.
That is local.
Right. So if you live in the Los Angeles area, really, is it just San Fernando?
That's the San Fernando Valley chapter.
That's the San Fernando Valley chapter.
Is there a number for Nami resource that people can reach
all over the country?
This is aired all over the world.
This is a national organization. Okay. Our national office is in Virginia, and we also have the LA County Council, which is, because there are about 12 NAMI affiliates in Los Angeles County. And so Los Angeles County Council sort of heads up administratively what is happening in the affiliates. Although the affiliates do operate autonomously, I just want to let folks know that the NAMI San Fernando Valley, if you are in the Valley, you can certainly contact us. Again,
818, yes.
994-6747.
And so when we come back, we're going to let you continue now. Enough of our story, the history we've been through. We're going to actually sort of explore what you've been through and the resources that Nami has to actually bring to the table.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something. 26 years of marriage from two unique perspectives equals 52 years of relationship experience.
Excuse me, that's 58 years? Oops,
It's time for Ask Marla and Dave. Answers to your questions about life, love, and relationship based on Marla and Dave's real life experience. It's about to get real. Ask Marla and Dave.
This is the go ahead.
All right, the Ask Marla and Dave segment is the portion of the show where you actually cut through the red tape. Something that we're hoping that we learn how to do with Nami for our situation. But for the Marla and Dave show, this is where you cut through the red tape. You actually go online to our home, www.marlaanddave.com, and you submit your question online, and we get to it right here on the show. This seems like a little twist on the Ask Marla and Dave
the
today.
twist on the Ask Marla and Dave is, and we started the show with apologies, and I think we're just going to keep it a running theme. Due to our guest, Dena, being here, I would like to ask a question. Normally, the question is asked of us. Where do you think that we need to start to be able to change the intake laws to evaluate mental illness to be more effective for people who need involuntary treatment?
Wow, that's a big question, and I wish I had some real good answers for you, some real definitive answers. I will say this: someone who is a bit more knowledgeable about that particular thing, our president, Kim Bonnell, could probably speak to that. We have a person by the name of Mark Gale. Again, you can get these folks by calling the number that I mentioned. Mark Gale, who is doing such great work with law enforcement,
right?
Might definitely be able to fill in some holes for you there. I know in my personal experience, because I am a person who lives with bipolar disorder with psychotic features. I have post-traumatic stress disorder and dissociative disorder. So I've been in, unfortunately, had to have some interaction with the police, both in Maryland, where I'm from, and in California. My experiences here have been pretty rough because when police intervention happened, it was definitely not the most pleasant thing, but I know that our hope is that systems would improve.
So what I'm hearing you say right now is that that's going to be an ongoing question and search for a solution. And so for the Ask Marla and Dave portion of the show, it looks like that is such a good question that we're going to have to actually probably find a solution and come up with one. Yeah. And we'll continue to explore that. That's the Ask Marla and Dave feature. We'll be right back.
Intelligent, fun, and super real. This is the Marla and Dave radio show.
All right, so we're back.
Well,
so
I want to, Dena, I want to continue. Excuse me, with what you were saying about your story, because you just, you gave us a little snippet. So you're someone who's been diagnosed and also suffers from pretty much almost identically what our son is suffering from.
Yes. And, I like to a lot of times, because this is part of the improvement that we were just talking about, I like to say that I'm a person who lives with mental illness. I like to think about what I'm living with in terms of hope, growing, movement. So
it's possible.
Absolutely.
I mean, clearly. I actually feel like you're sitting here, and I almost can.
It's almost like
it's surreal. Like, listen, understanding that we just left our son,
right,
and he's just so not in this reality, and it's so sad for us.
Yeah. And I'm certain about that. I am also a parent of a son who has major depression, so I can speak from both perspectives. Yeah, and I am so sorry that you all are experiencing this. I will say this: we were talking about the resources that Nami offers, and I cannot impress upon you and your audience enough to get in touch with Nami and sign up for the Nami Family to Family course.
Yeah, now I saw on the website that was a prevalent feature. It's almost like every other family to family is really big.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely, at least Marla and I will definitely
for sure.
sign up for the course.
And there are also support groups. So even if by chance you have to wait to get into a class, we do have support groups. Other parents, other family members, loved ones who have and are going through the situation that you're going through. Wealth of wisdom there. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. For folks who are living with a mental illness, we also have peer-to-peer. It is a 10-week course. And, you know, in the family-to-family class, you know, they teach you how to talk to their loved ones. They teach your loved ones. They teach you how, or they teach you, you know, about mental illness and you know, what the experience is like for your loved ones. And they even have a person who comes in, like me, to talk with family members.
I'd like to do that with you as we speak, actually.
Absolutely. Go right on ahead.
So at what age were you diagnosed?
I was 28.
So you were 28 years old. At what point did you understand that there was a brain difference for yourself, which is what Dave and I have grown to call it? Brain differences.
We really stopped. We don't like crazy. We don't like that type of thing.
Neither do I.
And it's almost like even mentally ill, I didn't like that. But we came across a book called Brain Differences, and so that seemed like a term that really was.
And now I'm all about saying brain difference and then brain balance. So, what age for you did you understand within yourself that you were different?
Okay, so that I was different? That was like really young.
So hold, before you answer the question, I think we have a phone call.
All right.
Hi, caller. You're on the Marla and Dave show with Marla and Dave and Dena from Nami. Do you have a question? Okay. So go ahead.
We lost the phone call, so
okay.
Sorry.
So I was diagnosed at 28, and I did not really begin my journey of acceptance and recovery until 7 years later. And there are many reasons for that. One is the medication, which you all were talking about before, just made me feel different. Not like myself. I'm generally a very animated person.
Got it.
And consider myself to be pretty sharp. And the medications would just dull me.
Make you flat.
It was just right. It was just
exactly
not
the same
me.
thing our son complains of.
And then additionally, I gained about 70 pounds in 3 months.
And he also gained weight.
Yeah. You know, just not appealing. That notion there. And you know, the medication, in addition to that, there are tremors.
And he was shaky. His hands were shaky.
Yeah. So there are reasons why we don't want to take medication, even though it is a good thing. Others, think that it is a good thing. We also have lots and lots of stigma around mental illness, particularly in the African American community.
And that's what I was going to say.
So I'm a preacher's kid. Married, good job, kids, funny. There's no way I could have a mental illness, and particularly if I am told and I believe that if you act odd and you think odd things, then that's demon possession and things like that. So
if you come from a Christian background,
absolutely. So there are many reasons why. I mean, no one wants to be labeled crazy or different or imbalanced or all of the other sort of negative things that we're called. I mean, it's shameful, it's embarrassing. So no one wants to be associated with that. No one wants to, I mean, you can pretty much appreciate that, right? Nobody wants to be called out like that. So getting treatment and attending to what's wrong really comes about through, and I've said this, and it's no magic bullet, but for the person, it is a personal sort of epiphany that what I have is real. It is not common practice for people to walk out in the street with no clothes on. Something's different about that. So for me, there was an acknowledgement that something was going on, but there was no acceptance of it.
So when you're in a psychotic, I mean, when you're going to a psychotic mode,
Sure.
and you then come back to whatever I'll call it level. Do you remember?
Absolutely. Unfortunately.
So you do. So you remember. So all the trauma.
Now I remember. Okay, that might not necessarily be other people's
Well,
experience.
David asked DJ, and he said he said, D, were you walking down the street naked? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
And he asked him why. He said, I don't know.
Right. This is just hard stuff, and what I appreciate about Nami is that for the first time in those 7 years, that between the time I was first diagnosed and the time that I actually got help and met Nami, or Nami met me.
Yeah.
What I recognize is it is going to take someone like me to really help me to see what's really going on. There was nothing as heavy as peer support. Folks who totally knew I mean, it was just something else for other people to describe their experiences, and then
that you understood could relate to you.
Yes.
Yeah, not just us saying we understand. I mean,
Right.
clearly we don't truly
Absolutely.
We
understand.
can't. I mean, that's
So now, was that how it happened for you? Someone that was associated with Nami was also dealing with similar issues?
Absolutely. A couple people came into the education course that I was taking. They did what's called an In Our Own Voice presentation, where two people with lived experience talk about their experience. They talk about, their dark days, how they came to accept their illness. They talk about their treatment. They talk about coping skills. They talk about, the successes that they've had. And it is sort of a beautiful circle of going from what was down to what is up. When I heard those people talk, I couldn't believe it. So I immediately got involved with Nami, and I have now been involved with Nami for about 13 years.
Wow.
And my life has, I can't even begin to tell you how my life has improved. The quality of my life has improved. I've gotten an opportunity to do so much. I'm a national trainer for Nami for their signature programs. I've been, featured in some major magazines, national newspapers, New York Times. I've gotten to go to Italy, gotten to go to Alaska on behalf of Nami. Yeah. So what I am saying is, you wouldn't think that about me if you saw me walking and this has happened.
Totally shocked when you said that.
When you said
before the show started.
Yeah.
Totally shocked.
When you said I had a lived experience, I was like, wait.
No, the police have put me in handcuffs and thrown me in a cruiser. I have been on the highway, taking my clothes off, singing and dancing. I've thought that I'm Jesus Christ and I have come to save the world. I spent a lot of money, about $15,000 in 3 days. I thought the TV and the news were talking about me. I thought films were talking about me. This is something that is, at this point, it's kind of scary to even.
Well, no,
What's scary is that you just became our son.
Yeah, literally.
Verbatim.
Verbatim. Every
David
single
just
symptom.
realized today on the way here that his last installment money literally has been spent. He spent it in 5 days. What was it? $3,200.
Wow. Yeah.
Clothes and he's painting up everything and
Yes.
he's everything you're saying.
Yeah. And I am saying this to you as parents.
Well, no,
let's hear what she has to say to us.
What I'm receiving is light at the end of the tunnel.
No, let her. Yes, but what are you saying to us as parents?
I am saying to you as parents, there is hope. Nami is priceless. I almost feel like I want to tear up because I have seen the difference that the National Alliance on Mental Illness has made not only in my life, but so many people's lives. So and parents and family members and friends. I mean, once you become educated and you are with other people who are experiencing the same things that you are, you're just wow. You're taught how to talk to people. You're taught how to appreciate that. Listen, you even go through an exercise and I'm not sure that it's family to family. It may be, but you are able to go through some exercises where you hear voices and you try to accomplish some tasks while hearing voices.
Wow.
Yeah. So certainly that would improve empathy. And I tell you what, having compassion for your loved one, right? Demonstrating that compassion, not trying to necessarily fix, because none of us want to be like, something's wrong with me. Why you got to fix me? I'm not good enough. That kind of thing.
The interesting thing that you point that out is that from various times there's pressure on Marla and I for different reasons. As the man in the house, almost fixing it is my job.
Right. So
it creates anxiety, even as I relate to my son, almost to the point where it boils over into frustration. That time that she said a long time ago is I was just so frustrated I could not take it.
Yeah.
And we got into an altercation that didn't end well.
Right.
And that's where I had to vow, well, I can't put my hands on him again.
Right.
That's not going to work.
Right.
But you know, those things, what you're saying are such important keys, and we are so anxious to be able to finally
I have to unlock some
get there.
Speaking of keys, in your site when you were in a dark place, how did you what convinced you to even get to Nami? This is what and not that your situation will be DJ's situation.
One thing to all of a sudden being in classes. How did you make that decision?
Well, I had a my first major manic episode. I didn't even know I had bipolar disorder. I had my first, where I was diagnosed. I was on the highway taking off clothes and rush hour traffic, speeding, and just blacked out on the highway. Just a really chaotic time. In 1997, that happened. For the first time, I heard voices. For the first time, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, talking incessantly, just really bizarre behavior. And in 2003. 7 or 6 years at that point, almost 7 years later, I got sick like that again. Now, in between that time, I was in and out of the hospital about 10 times.
By force or by choice?
Right. It was always someone else who took me to the hospital. In 2003, after a business trip, I had sort of an intense kind of job. And after a business trip, I started hearing voices again. And I started to feel very wiry, like, very, like my body was vibrating. That freaked me out. I was like, I can't do that again. That is too scary for me. So I said,
were you already a parent at that time?
I was already a parent at that time. And I said, I've got to change my lifestyle. One of the things that you should know is that, for me, and I know that this happens with other people, is for me, stress is a trigger. So if too much change at once is a trigger. So I have to watch all of those things. And in 2003, when I became manic again and psychotic, a lot of change was happening in my life. So it freaked me out. I got real scared. I took myself to the hospital. That was the beginning of the change. And as I have mentioned before, it is really, listen, I am telling you what, having loving, caring, supportive family members around you, friends like you all, is a blessing that I can't even, I'm speechless about that, because that is a blessing to the person who has a mental illness.
Wow. So, man, this has turned out to, we knew we were going to have a great conversation today, but because of your experience, it actually takes it to an exponentially higher level. We so appreciate your sharing with us. We're going to continue the discussion when we come right back.
I definitely want to answer your question.
Indeed.
It's time for the Marla and Dave Doghouse. Marla has something that should put Dave in the doghouse. Dave has something that should put Marla in the doghouse. You decide who gets a biscuit and who gets busted and ends up in the doghouse.
All right, this is the doghouse segment of the show, and this is usually where Marla is mad at me about something, and I'm usually trying to defend myself, and so then in defense, I have to get mad back.
But you know what I'm going to do because of the weight at hand, and I again thank Moniece and AD for showing up and streaming, because this information needs to be really just broadcast everywhere. Right quick, they're on their social medias, which are pretty extreme in numbers. Moniece, is there anybody or any question that sticks out for you that you'd like to that people are asking? Because I know AD has a question or two. While you're looking at yours, if anybody that you would like to ask a question on behalf of, AD, what's yours?
So I've been encouraging to ask questions during, just in case I have some time. So we had one on here that the father committed suicide.
Right.
And they had the question, like, what are some signs maybe ahead of time that they could have maybe seen, or prevented that kind of situation from happening? And I know suicide is one of the highest ones. So
Yeah. That's a really tough one because there are many times where you don't know,
right,
and you cannot tell because we'll behave as we normally do. Some will be detached, stay to themselves, not want to interact, don't interact like they would normally. But then there are other times, like, something that I've experienced when I've been in mania. Voices were telling me to jump off of a 3-story building. So not every time there is a suicide or what looks like a suicide is actually
it's just a byproduct of something else.
Yes, absolutely. So I to best answer your question, there are some resources that you can go to. There is a suicide hotline. I think it's 1-800-SUICIDE. That might be able to elaborate on some things that I have said. And I just want to keep giving y'all the number, 818-994-6747. There is a plethora of resources available to you.
As well as those numbers for the San Fernando Valley NAMI affiliate, as well as wherever you are across the nation. You go to nami.org and all that information is there.
Absolutely.
You can unpack it through there.
Absolutely. Okay. And there is a national a hotline as well. If you go to nami.org, that is the national site, you will find numbers to call. And I know that they are available most times of the day. So
absolutely. We're going to have to do a little bit of housekeeping and we'll come right back.
What's the action?
You'll laugh. You'll learn. You'll learn. You'll get mad.
Shut up.
You'll get happy. But you won't be bored. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
For the sake of discussion and just for information's sake, let you know how the flow of the show today is going to slightly be altered because this isn't quite as a fun sort of topic, and we want to get to as much information as possible. We're going to actually stay on topic through most of the breaks. So now usually we play the Mad Love game. Today we will not be playing the Mad Love game, and I think we have a phone call.
Caller, you're on the Marla and Dave show with Marla and Dave and Dena. Do you have a question? We're not going to ask you your name due to the sensitive subject matter. Hello?
Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hello, what's your name and what's your question or comment? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
I guess, I don't know if this pertains to mental.
Yes, it does.
I'm autistic, so I was actually had the issue before.
What issue are you talking about? And can you tell me your name again?
I'm Nicole Miller.
Nicole. Hi there, Nicole.
Thank you. of just being told I'm different than everyone.
Okay.
And I feel so sorry for the people that are dealing with this because it's not fair. And I really hope you find your son. I just say I'm sorry.
Thank you,
Nicole. Thank you for the love, and thank you for calling us. And just so you can be encouraged along with us, we have actually located our son. So for now and for tonight, he's safe. And so that is a blessing. So thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
All right, bye-bye. Let's get to a couple questions that Moniece has, who's sitting behind me. Moniece, a couple questions?
So we had 2 questions for Dena. One was, how did you deal with PTSD? And the other was, how does one deal with bipolar disorder when you have small children?
Those are
two good questions.
Their children are at risk, but they don't know how to cope, essentially.
Okay.
Who's not coping? The parent? Okay.
Okay. They're not coping well with their illness?
With their illness,
okay.
And they have small children. And the other question was,
PTSD.
Once you recognized you had PTSD, how did you cope?
Well, I was going to therapy, and my therapist identified for me that I have PTSD. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had some traumas as a child, and I would have to say that I'm not certain that that's something that I'm ever going to be over. I think I'll always be hypervigilant in some areas. I just try to take care of myself very, very well, do lots of compassion, stay aware of my surroundings, have a lot of support around me. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm dealing with PTSD. In terms of bipolar and having kids, I can definitely appreciate, the concern. I would just look at, is the behavior unsafe? Are the kids unsafe? Are they at risk of something? Being self-aware, going to your doctor, going to therapy, whatever your treatment regimen is, that would certainly be very helpful and inform you a lot. People around you, your support network, people who are looking at you, involved in your life, they'd be able to tell you how you are. And certainly, just from a different perspective, your kids love you. Your kids are always going to love mom and dad, no matter what their issue might be. I know my kids, all grown, I have 5 of them, they kind of call me their hero because they know, the challenges that I have been through. So your kids are always going to be in your corner. So I completely understand the concern if they are at risk. Again, determine if they, in fact, are at risk, and then take the necessary steps that you need to make them safe.
And this is the last one. This is a good one. One person said, my mom has bipolar disorder. Does that mean that because she has it, it will affect me, and will it affect my kids when I decide to have it?
You mean genetically?
Genetically.
Yeah. What's the do you know the genetic link? Because I know that it's both genetic and environmentally induced, but I don't know what because go ahead.
There are concordance rates, and you can find that out. The closer the relative is, the closer you are to the relative who has a mental illness, the higher the chances are that you will be affected. But that's I'll say this. Just because your parent has a mental illness does not mean that you will have one too. I have 5 children, and only one has a diagnosed mental illness. All of them are thriving. So even with a condition that is diagnosed by a doctor does not, it's not a death sentence. Life is not over. And particularly if you get in contact with Nami and get some resources and get around people.
Once
you'll
again,
be all
Eat
right.
your Nami pill. Eat your Nami pill. Bottom line.
So again, in the Valley, that's 818-994-6747. But definitely reach out and call the national number as well. So
those are good questions, AD and
yeah.
Moniz. And again, I'm super, super, super appreciative that you guys are taking the time to share this. Because you know what, Dena, you said something when you sat down, and I'm just bringing this out to the forefront as well. What is it that we, and I'm talking about minorities, black people, and then even smaller, I've said before, when you're black and you're Christian, that we tend to completely dismiss. And exactly what you were saying, and I've now been taking it upon myself to talk to family and let them know, listen, I know you love me. I do, and I really appreciate, and I feel your support. However, please, no more talk about, I'm praying that the demon will come out, and I'm praying that I can't do it anymore, because the bottom line is, I say to the people who love me, please go get educated on what mental illness really is, and then you can better be prepared, because keep praying. But at the same time, like I said on my social media, you know, these young ladies and David, me in particular, I've been on a rampage on social media to bring attention to what's happening in our lives in real time. Because I'm not going to be retarded or drawn back by the stigma.
Now, there are three things that I want to mention here. We just had our annual Nami Walk.
Right. I know people who participated in that.
Great. So that is a beautiful way to not only raise money to help us give these programs for free to the community. They are life-changing, even life-saving. I often say, you know, Nami helped save my life. I mean, there were times when I, you know, just considered not being here anymore. Nami, its programs and its support really helped me to move through some very difficult times. I can't impress that enough. So Nami Walks helps us to raise money to continue to do what it is we do. And listen, if you can do something, please, by all means, get in touch with us and do exactly that, big or small. Another thing that we want to do in terms of stigma is we have a couple of programs where people like me go out into the community and we just talk about how we like cartoons and music and, you know, all this other kind of groovy stuff, because we're just people, right? It's the person first, not the illness. Most people are, you know, so afraid. Because
I was going to say, should there, and that's what I'm asking. At this point, I want to even jump on that. Should I be afraid? At one point, based on what had happened for me, which is what I was telling Dave, I think one of the contentions in our relationship at this point, I have now, post-traumatic stress, developed a fear for my son in this condition.
That is justifiable. Absolutely.
Okay.
Really quick.
Absolutely.
Two super quick questions. One was, how does one donate to Nami? And the second was, I know you already answered it, but someone said, I have bipolar disorder. Her phone died when you were talking about it. She said she has bipolar disorder, and she oftentimes will stop taking the medication because she doesn't like the way it makes her feel.
Absolutely.
Is there an alternative? So the donation and the
alternative therapy.
You can make a donation, and I hope that you will make it to Nami San Fernando Valley by going to Nami S as in Sam, F as in Frank, V as in Victor.org. That's NamiSFV.org. There is a menu selection for you to make a donation. In terms of the other question, and just remind me real quick of.
She has bipolar disorder, and oftentimes she stops taking.
Okay, the medication thing, right? Sure. Now, I take a mood stabilizer and an antipsychotic when I am a bit up. I can't do antidepressants because it makes me more depressed. And we talked about already the other things, makes you, not feel good. So one of the things that I know helps me is regular sleep, like a really good sleep regime. That's terribly important. A decent diet full of fruits and veggies, and exercise. Exercise produces those good, those good hormones. So those things, I would say keep looking for medicine that works. Because I have, and that can be an arduous process, I know, but it is worth going through what you need to go through. Because
the
I have
titration
found,
process.
Yeah.
Or the type. Because remember,
I was saying
DJ
titration,
complained.
that deals with the type of medication and then the
how
dosage.
Right, I get it.
Right. I mean, so, you do have to go through a bit of a
trial and error.
Yeah. But finding the right mix, and they're coming out with newer medications that don't have as many side effects as the older ones do. So I would encourage to just tough it out. And I hate to use that kind of term because it's already tough, but go through what it is you need to go through, due diligence to get to a medication cocktail that will work and not cause all of those side effects.
And again, that seems like with someone who's actually reached the critical point that they've decided that for themselves, they know this is what they need.
Yes, it does sound like that.
Yeah.
So I want to say woohoo for that because
indeed.
I mean, just to be self-aware and to come to some acceptance about the illness that you have. Things turn around when acceptance happens.
You've done a couple of donations.
So good.
Awesome.
Nice job.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
For sure.
Thank you so very much.
And we'll always make sure that we continue that. And you can look forward to, for us, we'll continue our conversation even off air.
Good.
Because David and I, for sure, not only are we permanent advocates due to our situation, but we also would like to grow our foundation to be able to specifically and directly manage mental illness. One of the things that for me that I found, again, educate our community. That's first and foremost. I think for me, educating our community, and then we are certainly not wealthy on any level,
right?
But at the same time, the financial drag that has taken place, that we don't even have the resources financially to do what it seems needs to be done to take care of our own son. For it's costing us, my goodness, thousands and thousands of dollars because of the insurance situation, his age, paying out of pocket. But it was so necessary because there was no function without it. So to me, I'm thinking we keep finding ways, and we're very blessed to have a pretty big support group. But what about families who don't have any of that? And so that's what I want to focus on as well.
I want to add to that what Marla's saying and another side of the question, because unfortunately, in this political climate, the run-ins with the law enforcement and African Americans or people of color in general, it seems to me that a good portion of those encounters could be actual mental illness cases that the police just don't recognize. So how do we deal with that, number one? And is NAMI have resources for that as well? And then if you are picked up by law enforcement, does NAMI have a resource to help deal with that as well?
To your first question, NAMI is doing some exceptional work in educating police officers. I, in fact, am a part of a program where folks like me are going out and educating police officers.
Can you please go to the Topanga Canyon Police Station and tell them to stop it, cut it out already? They need some education.
So, oftentimes we hear from the evaluations that NAMI coming in is the most beneficial for the police officers because they get an opportunity to hear from family members and the person who is living with the condition who has come into contact with police. How, in my situation, I've had wonderful contact with police and not so good. In the instances where I have had a good experience with police, it's been because they were educated.
They were trained.
Right. They were trained on how to interact with someone like me. So that Nami is really big in that effort, and it's called Crisis Intervention Teams. And hopefully we are making a huge, and I so believe that we are, because after speaking with me, or I'm doing a presentation to police officers, they come up and they say, okay, you're right. My idea, my thought about somebody with mental illness,
automatically drugs, usually.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's automatically drugs.
Which is interesting, because when David did talk to our son today, that's the first thing that he wanted to be sure to say. He told my mom, listen, I'm doing healthy living. I'm still on it. He's rail thin because he's literally been walking the earth from Malibu to downtown.
Yeah, he might now walk 30 miles a day.
And it's constant movement. But the bottom line is, he said,
I do want to say this. I'm so sorry. That Mark Gale, and I mentioned his name before, he is heavily involved in crisis intervention team training for law enforcement, and not just police officers, but sort of law enforcement.
Got it, in general.
So he's a member of our affiliate, and again, you call the number 818-994-6747, and you'll be connected with Mark.
I want to know, are there signs that they should look for in young children?
That's a good question. How soon can you recognize that there's an issue?
That's a really good question. It just kind of varies
on the severity and what the symptoms and what you're seeing.
Right. Now, I knew that, or others, I know now, how about that, I had a mental illness really young. When I was 8 years old, my mother got me a big sister. And I don't even know if I think I'm dating myself. They had big sisters and big brothers,
I remember that.
during that time. Now, I had an older sibling and a younger sibling, and I was the only one that got a big sister. So obviously it was identified that I needed that extra help. So I was doing things, that would be, sort of, put in the category of mischievous and, all that kind of stuff. When in fact, I just thought differently than other people. I just thought differently than other kids. So some of that, some of the behaviors will come out in various ways. We have a program called Basics, and that is for family members, caregivers of children and adolescents under 13 years old, I believe. It's I believe a 5-week, 6-week course that parents and caregivers can come and they can learn about the things that you are asking about. What are those signs? What do I do? Kind of things like that.
Oh, this is a good one. My pregnant friend says also for people that are genetically predisposed to mental illness, are there additional triggers that are likely to bring about the mental illness, drugs, alcohol, etc.?
Many times people with mental illness will self-medicate because, or they'll do alcohol and drugs and things like that because of, how difficult it is to live with it. But I'm hearing music, so I suppose.
We're going to get back to that.
Yeah, for sure, because we can't let you get out of here as well without. You're very encouraging on a personal level at this point to David and I, especially with what we're going through now. Some do's and don'ts to help us manage where our son is at this time. That when we come back.
It's time to play the Marla and Dave Love Game. Here are Marla and Dave to explain how it works.
Do you want to play? I thought we weren't playing the game.
Well, it's up to you. We can actually, this is the break for it. So for those of you who don't know, the MaD Love Game is a game that was created by Marla and me. It deals with the 3 categories of relationships that we think impact most relationships.
Let's let Dena have some fun.
Indeed. That's what I was thinking.
Let's have some fun in this mode.
And it's played by rolling a single die, or dice, however you want to say, but the correct term is die. It has the 3 categories on there. It also has the MaD logo, which allows you to choose whatever category you want to. The 3 categories are finance, communication, and sex. Dena, if you would, I'm going to hand you the die.
And don't let Dave encourage you to roll sex, because he will.
I'm going to be good today.
Okay, I just roll?
Just roll it.
All right.
Marla?
Oh, it's the MaD logo. You know what that means,
You
Dena?
get to choose.
Wait. Drum roll. You get to pick.
I get to pick a card?
Either sex, finance, or
you have to
communication.
pick a category.
Tell me the category.
Communication.
Communication. All right.
Good job. Way not to be brainwashed by Dave. You know, he has a very pensive stare.
You notice Marla's saying that, and usually it's the case, but I didn't say
we
one word about that today.
You pick our news stories. There was one about a labia lip pendant. Stop it.
Okay.
Labia lip jewelry.
So let me just give a little description about each card that you pull when you play the Mad Love game. It has a question. It has an answer that has been researched, and the answers come from the Pew Research Center.
Pew, pew.
So PW Research Center. It also has a further discussion question that when you play with a group of friends or a group of people, it becomes really fun because you get to talk about the issue at hand based on the question on the card. So here's the question for communication. Do women have a positive response to a man who uses a pickup line?
Oh.
Hey, girl, you must be an angel. Duh.
That fallen from heaven. You must be a star. Cause
yeah, all those types of things. Do women have a positive response or feeling about a man who uses a pickup line?
So you're asking
I'm
me
asking
that question.
you.
That's an actual question. There's a real answer.
All right, there is a real answer.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. And okay, let me say this.
Now, what do you have to answer personally? Are you turned on or turned off by a pickup line?
You don't have to do anything. Just answer the.
Let me put Dena in the hot seat.
I am not turned on by pickup lines. I mean, it depends on how he's looking and how that delivery is taking place.
In other words, if you were already attracted to the person, the pickup line's not that much of a turn off. You might look past that. But in general, the answer is no.
You know why I think that I would just say hell to the no for me? Because the reality for me is it's so unoriginal. That to me, that feels like you have a can of lines and you just shook the can and threw the one out that you think would stick on me best.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like a Velcro approach.
It depends on the line.
No matter what it is, because it always comes out canned and cheesy. Hey, girl. Yeah.
Do they have to sound like that?
Hey, girl. What you doing, girl?
Okay, so officially the answer is no. Pickup lines are usually, and when women are asked, a way for a man to shield his ego. And not be real with the situation.
I have a cute little story about that. One of the things that are original stand out to me most, and one of the funniest things ever. I went out with my friends, and a guy came over, and he said, and I was getting drinks at the bar to take to my friends, but I wasn't drinking. So he says, yeah, so let me get you a sidecar. And I said, yeah, this is for my friends. I'm not. And he then turns on and goes, he said, looks at me, he sees I'm fit. And he goes, you know what? Why don't you let's just blow this joint. Let's go grab a Jamba Juice. And I started cracking up because he was going to try anything. He tried, do you ride boats? Let me take you on a boat ride. Nah, I get motion sick. But it was just funny that
it doesn't really sound like a pickup line, though.
But the point,
that's just a fishing expedition.
That's my point. My point is that if it had been a line, it's so unoriginal, but somebody who comes with something that is uniquely just trying to deal with the situation, you would remember it years later. Matter of fact, Dave, I went out on a date. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, so the further discussion question for this particular card is, what's the most ridiculous pickup line you've ever heard?
What's the most ridiculous pickup line? Does anybody have one on top? That's the one. I've heard that a lot. Did that hurt when you fell from heaven? My ball just rolled in here. Balls are rolling?
Yeah, that's actually over my head. I don't even get that one.
Now pickup lines are
Dena, what's
social
the most
media
ridiculous pickup line you've heard?
Oh man, I think it's kind of cliche, just like the one you said.
Falling from heaven.
Yes. What is it? Oh, you're an angel because you just fell from heaven, something like that.
Yeah. Marla, what's your most ridiculous pickup line?
Well, what did you say when you wanted to take me out the first time?
That's not ridiculous. Clearly it worked. Clearly that one worked.
Hey, can we share peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Well, how old are we again? 6 and 8? Anyway. You know what? We've been married 29 years. I've got picked up a long time ago. I don't know anything about any more lines.
All right, that's the Mad Love Game. We thank Dena, our guest, for playing with us. In light of the heavy topic that we're discussing, to have a little fun is always a good thing. So you can get your copy of the Mad Love Game by going to www.marlandave.com. Go to the Mad merch, click on that tab. You'll find all a bunch of fun stuff. The Mad Love Game is there. Get your copy today. Back to the show.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
All right, right quick before we get back to the show, we got to answer the poll question or let you know what the poll question was for last week and the results. The question was, should personal protests cross over into professional arenas? Specifically, clearly talking about the NFL and things like that. Your options were yes, hashtag say it loud, or no, hashtag private protest. We only had 37% that said yes, you should say it loud. And this doesn't seem to make sense. Oh, I guess it does. 63% said no, private protest. So most people are kind of getting annoyed with the whole, seemingly that would say that most people are getting annoyed with the protests that have been going on.
Take a knee.
Taking a knee and things of that nature. Next week, your poll question is, which agenda should be a priority? Hashtag mental health, hashtag gun control, or hashtag both. I guess that's specifically in light of the Las Vegas shooting.
Correct.
And other mass shootings like that. Which should be the priority issue that is dealt with? Mental health, gun control, or both? Those are your three options. Please, wherever you see the poll question on our social media or at our home, www.marlandave.com, please vote. We want to hear from you. And now back to the show.
Can you handle the truth? This is modern American dialogue in a mad world from two unique, fresh, transparent perspectives. This is the Marla and Dave radio show.
We're going to open up right quick. Just one. Monique has got to go. Another question.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. I would definitely.
But let's repeat the question real quick because Monique is off the mic. And the question is, someone in Florida is asking Dena, does Nami assist with medication,
is that one of the programs?
And providing medication when you can't afford your own medication?
Nami has navigators, like resource navigators, and one of the things I absolutely know that you can do, because I've experienced this myself, is apply for the drug companies' patient assistance programs. Many of them have that, so try that. If that is not helpful, definitely get in touch with Nami or your local affiliate there. They may have some resources on how to get money for medications or discounted rates.
I just lost that whole life.
It's all good. Let me just say this before Monique is going to leave.
We're about to wrap the show.
We're going to wrap because I want to get the do's and don'ts.
4 minutes
from
left.
Dena.
3 minutes.
This is quick. Monique again, NAD. Thanks today for your help with the live feed, as well as I'll stay tuned because we're going to be teaming up. Monique and AD are also going to be helping me to they're going to be putting together a PSA that actually brings attention to mental illness, because there's no more suffering in silence.
That's right.
And now that Dena's in our family as well, we'll have Nami and Dena on board as well with that.
Absolutely.
And
awesome.
so, yeah, for sure. So we're gonna make that work. So I really do appreciate everybody coming together. It's personal for us at this point and my family, and I'm looking forward. You have no idea that your presence alone is encouraging.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to celebrating and coming out on the other side, because I'll be honest with you, as of yesterday, even today, I didn't even think it was even going to be possible.
Right.
You know, I was actually understanding in my spirit what I felt to be the worst based on the condition my son is in. So I really do appreciate you coming here.
Just to answer your question, because that's a great segue to do's and don'ts. And I just have a couple for you.
Okay.
Don't beat up yourself. It's not your fault. Do call Nami.
Can't re-emphasize that enough. And the number is
Not 94, 67, 47.
Hilarious.
But definitely educate yourself. There are ways to talk to your loved one. There are ways of understanding your loved one. Exactly. Understanding your loved one that you haven't been exposed to yet. There's definitely support there of families that know exactly what you're going through. Like, you don't have to, explain how you feel. They already know.
Got it.
So you can definitely take advantage.
And part of that will also educate us as well, as like I was saying to you, in the best way for those of us who are supporting to also keep ourselves safe, as well as try to encourage them to a safer position. And you said something earlier that is as well about yourself. And one of the things it was that you yourself had to get to the point where you were tired of your life being interrupted.
Yes.
So letting that interruption happen on some level is necessary.
Absolutely. I just want to say one thing. We do have outreach, faith outreach, African American outreach, all that. You can volunteer with Nami. I am, actually the volunteer training
coordinator.
And chair. Exactly. So you can certainly volunteer with Nami. Help us.
I'm coming to your office, Dena.
Awesome.
I don't know if Dena's gonna regret the day she met me. I'm moving in, Dena.
I just don't think I will.
But by tomorrow, we're going to have all of the resources that Dena has shared with us on our website, and we'll have a way to point you to Nami's website as well. And hopefully this has been helpful. We'll do it again. Thank you so much, Dena Robinson.
And this is when I can say God has been good, because this has been truly and sincerely an answer to prayer.
And thank you, Monique and AD.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
See you next week.